Hello. I am going to go over the authentication of item number 406082. This is a Jack Nicholson signed 11 by 14 inch photo. The authentication was done on it about a year ago. I'm not sure exactly when I did this, but I don't have it in my possession anymore. The person, I think they said they did buy it or they're interested in it, but anyway, somebody messaged me asking me some questions, so I'm going to go over this. One of their messages today, they had stated that they'd asked some collectors online about it, and these guys said they didn't trust the baseline or something like that. And I was like explaining how, these online collectors are some of the worst people to ask, because they will just say everything is fake. They will spew off terms that they've heard before without knowing what they actually mean. And I specifically asked this guy that was messaging me about this what exactly they were referring to when they said baseline. Like, are they talking about like the pressure, like the overall pressure of the marker on something, or are they talking about like the direction or something? And he thinks that they're talking about like the direction of it. But anyways, we're going to go over all this. This video will probably be longer than I'd really want it to be, but I want to go over some additional things about Jack Nicholson's autograph, not just specifically about this item, but just some overall helpful kind of things, and some things that really pissed me off today. I have my exemplars, but I know a lot of people will look at, and then again, like there's the collectors who just go, everything's fake, and then there's people who think they know how to go and determine and think they can spot things, but they don't necessarily know where to get exemplars from. So they go and they just look at things authenticated by PSA, JSA, Beckett, because everybody acts like they're never wrong. Like they know everything, and everything authenticated by them must be legit. So I'm going to show you some that have been authenticated by them that are not. But anyways, let's just get started on this. So this here is an exemplar from Mike the Fanboy, well known in the autograph collecting community. He obtained this, and the next one I'm going to show at a charity golf tournament in 2012. So a little bit older, but it's a standard autograph. So we have where it starts, it loops, comes up, we have the A, it comes over and back, just over and back. 3 peaks, little tail, then point, then round, point, then round. The eye, almost always, very rarely, I do have one example, but the eye is usually more of a N shape. Here is one example where you are seeing the dot above the eye. I'll get more into that later too. You get the C, the loop, a peak, the O, and this O is looped. We get another L, it's not looped, but not a big thing. Comes over, and then there's a break, but it continues on. And you can see the little tick. I know this is a small photo. You might not see it on wherever you're watching this, but there is a little tick upwards. The second one, same thing. Comes down, comes back. The A, over and back. Peak, peak, peak. Point, round. And a pointed I. The C, you get the H, the loop. The peak, you don't get the looped O here. You just kind of get like a little peak, a loopy L, and it juts over a little bit. Normally it would come a little more up. That shows something was probably bumped a little bit for that to happen. And comes and trails off. We'll go over here. This is an older one. This is a letter that he wrote to someone. I'm just going to shrink this a little bit. I just wanted to show how kind of sloppy his writing is. Even here, like I really can't read what half these words are. And this, it looks like he started to write it and then had to come back and like fix something. His writing isn't the neatest writing. That's just kind of what I'm trying to show here. We do have an example of his H's there. We'll need that in a second. So, and this is just showing his first name, but still it starts, comes, gets the loop, dots the loop, it has the loop. Oh my gosh. Over and back. Got the peaks, point, and loop. Here's an example. This is actually from the PSA database. They have a database that shows examples of a lot of people, and very rarely do I see something in that database, like if they're exemplars, that isn't legitimate. You will often find PSA certified items that aren't legitimate, but when you are looking through their database and their exemplars, those are good. So we have this one here. So yeah, it's coming. The other thing is he's more pointed with his movements of things. It's not like a round, like this one here is like a rounded circle. This is everything's always more pointed, it seems. So it comes over, back again, peak, 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 point, round, peaked. The C, the loop, the hook, not really an O, but kind of comes back. We got the L, and it kind of trails off, and then ticks back. So a lot of times at the end here, wherever he trails off, sometimes it will just trail off, sometimes it just happens. And may not have a ticks back. A lot of times people will say that that is a sign that something is forged, like when it just trails off. You have a trail off here. Not always. I mean, they could be going and just leave contact with the paper. It happens. That's not 100% a sign that something is forged. And we have the dot for the I up here. So, and I just mentioned that, like the other one was over here. A lot of times, most of the time, his dot is closer to here. It's like he comes back, this tick usually comes up because he's coming back in this direction. He's not moving down the right 80. He's coming back to do the dot for the I. So this usually ends, if it's going to tick in any direction, it's usually going to tick upwards because he's got to move in that direction. And he usually does this really quick. It's usually way over here, not above the I. Next example here. This is kind of an example of like a sloppier signature, but I'm not sure exactly what item this is on. It looks like it might be a bench or something, or some kind of floorboard, but anyways, it starts more back here, comes over, comes back, and the A is just up and over, peak, 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 but then it stays and it kind of just connects. He doesn't lift, he just goes right into the end, but it's the peak, the round, the I, the C actually has a little bit of a tail on it, the loop, the peak, the O is in there, we got the rounded L, and it's separated there, but it comes back. This one we do see ticks downwards, but again, we're not really sure what kind of item this is or how exactly his position to be signing it, but not a huge thing. We can also see right here, he obviously lost contact momentarily, but it is still going in the same direction. And then here's the tick for the I. The I's over here, but here's the tick for the I happening in the middle of the H. Another very sloppy one, but this is going all the way back to 1971. And he kind of signed the same way. And things were a little bit more rounded back then. Probably an age thing, but this is just kind of showing like his basic style of things has stayed the same for quite a while. if you were to go back and look up a lot more of his older autographs, you will notice too, way back when his signature was almost more printed looking rather than the cursive kind of, like, not that it was completely printed, but just more printed looking, a lot more neat, all letters pronounced. I'm not really going to go into showing those too much. Actually, I'm not going to go into showing them at all, actually, because some people's autographs do change over time. That is not the style that we are authenticating. I'm just simply showing this to show that for quite a while, there have been key parts that have remained the same. This one here. Now, there's something here that I'm about to show. This is known to be a legitimate one. Is more rounded, but again, I always say, like, if you have something overall that looks pretty good, and let's say there's just a couple small things that are kind of like, oh, well, look at that. A couple tiny things aren't huge red flags. And like I said, back years ago, things, were probably a little more rounded than they have been in a lot of recent years. So still the same basic form. It's coming up, it's coming back. So here's where our A is happening. Now, you'll notice on this, oops, it's got a mark on there. The C here, you have a little loop, which we haven't seen yet. But if you consider that this is not coming back and coming over, sorry, it's not coming back and coming over. It's more coming up, but overall, you got to consider this is coming back and it's coming over. So this was probably standing, holding something moved a little bit, wasn't quite getting the direct motion, but it is overall still going in the right form. If people don't look into things too much, they may see this and think, oh, it's always supposed to have a loop on the C. But you'd have to take something like that into consideration with everything overall. So you got the C, a couple peaks, then the point, the round, the pointy eye, the C, the L, the peak. We have the pronounced O, we got the loop, separates and then comes back, comes upwards, and we have the eyes dots on the L. This one here is another good example. That's what I'm saying, like, it gets a little more pointy. You can definitely see what I'm talking about there. Comes down, peaks to get the A, comes back, comes forward, peak, peak. Looks like it connects, but it doesn't. You can see where the N is starting, peak, round, loop, loop, ticks up, the dot for the I. So you're kind of, I think by now you're kind of seeing what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's go over to the item in question here. So this is it overall that we're looking at. First glance looks good. When I had it in front of me, I would have backlit it to make sure that it was standing out for the paper, that there wasn't signs of it being printed on. I also would have been looking for signs of tracing. When you backlight things, you can see pretty good, much better than with a scan, if there is lines underneath the marker showing that something has been traced, like something was like printed, traced on, and then like written over. Let's go to the zoomed in here. So we can see, you can see the pixelation in the image. We're not getting that in the signature. So now let's address the baseline thing. So slant wise, like if we're going to talk about like the slant and the direction, it's going to give us a color here. Like you can see things are fairly leaning in that direction. Can I copy? and paste that stick. No, I can't, but you can see what I'm talking about. Like everything is going in that direction. All right, my computer just crashed on me. I kind of forgot what I was in the middle of doing. So that might have just seemed like a weird edit there. Anyways, as we're looking at this, and I don't know if this is like another baseline thing that these guys might be referring to, but we do have a bit of an optical kind of illusion happening here. This kind of does look a little smaller than this writing, which right there, that is usually an indication of something. But if we actually start moving things over, we can see not really. It's pretty close in size. So it's just kind of the way things are sitting, I guess. I don't know, but that's definitely just an optical illusion happening there. If you look up, look up visual optical illusions while you got YouTube open, you'll see other things where I'm talking about where something looks like it's a totally different shape or totally different size, and then when it's moved towards something else, you realize, oh, it is the same. The one exemplar that I skipped here, this was one that an autograph hound, for lack of a better term, obtained. I think it was in 2019. He got lucky. He got a ho 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 quote there. So you'll notice these are actually, this dot is the exclamation point. It comes over and it's not even really pointy or round. It's got like a weird kind of flatness. This man as well posted proof photos. I hate the term proof photo, but he posted photos from when the signing was happening, and they were actually up higher than where Jack Nicholson was standing. So they were holding things like over a railing, and Jack Nicholson was standing, like reaching up like above his head to sign things. So definitely not ideal kind of circumstances for how he had to sign things. But it still is the same basic thing. It comes, you get the J, it comes over, back, the peaks, the end kind of, we got like a little notch thing happening here. It's got the peak, the round. The I is just a single line. It's not the peak, which right there would normally be a red flag. However, again, I trust who this came from. And again, when you're reaching above your head, trying to sign things, definitely not ideal circumstances. The other thing is this isn't staying like flat, like it's up, down, like it's all over the place. But again, reaching up to sign something. We saw the L, the H with the peak. We got the O, we got the L, and then it comes out, and then it loops down because he'd be reaching downwards at this point. He's done signing, he is reaching up, so his hand is coming down. And he doesn't even put a dot over his name, which I'm sure somebody would say that is a red flag. Oh, he forgot to put the dot. But no, it just wasn't ideal circumstances, and he signed a lot of things that day. He's a pretty good signer for people. So, yeah. I'm also going to just bring this over. This was kind of a good one to compare to. Like if you put them side by side, it's coming pretty good. This A is coming up a little higher, not a huge thing. We got our peaks. This doesn't come down all the way. Again, not a huge thing if you look at the overall look of everything. We also have a slight blemish on the photo that's kind of happening right there, but yeah, the N, it's looking good. The I, we get the C, we get the peaks. It's side by sides are looking pretty good. Yeah, there's no the marker, it fades a little bit coming up. That's, not uncommon. The overall tone of it is still good though. I'm not seeing signs that it went slow. Lines are nice and crisp. Just overall, it's looking good. I passed this. I had no doubts, no concerns. It looks good. But let's go take a look at some that I found that don't look good. So this one here, I know this is a little slow, but right here you can tell this would be a fake Jack Nicholson autograph. You get this part coming pretty good, and it comes back, but then it just stops there. And then it starts here again. So we got the peaks. If you were just to glance at just that part, like it would almost look good. You could almost think, well, maybe not ideal, but now we go to the end. And it's pointy, pointy, pointy. Not the same shape. That's not right. We get the pointy eye, but then it starts coming over here. And that almost looks good. Like this chunk here, like almost looks good, but then it stops again. And hang on, can I zoom in on this? Now it's really pixelated, but you can see it stops again. And this is a new line that comes out. It ticks down. But then you do have like the dash in the wrong spot. But overall, you can tell, and I hate saying that you could authenticate things without having them in person, but there are times like this where you can just tell that something is not going to pass because so many things are wrong. So yeah, too many red flags here. There's no way this is even just a sloppy signature. This is just fake. This was another one here that there's a lot of issues with. So you get that, the A comes over, it goes over, comes back. And now you have a break here, and you get the C and the point of the point. Again, you could think maybe he's bumped, he lost contact, not ideal. So we can kind of start forgiving this and think maybe it's not perfect. But then over here, you have a very pronounced and harsh tick, but like that doesn't look like a speed tick. Like a speed tick usually wouldn't be that much is possible, and then a bump is possible. But then you combine that with just point and point and point. That's coming up just, this looks just too pointy. Everything about this is like, this is too pointy. Over here, like these parts are usually pointy, but then you start getting more rounded. Like just everything you would look at, it's like that's pointy, but this is usually more soft. Maybe is the word I want. Where was it? Yeah, it's like it's so harsh. It's just so harsh. No dots at all. Again, we did see that with one of the other ones, but this is just too many red flags. I would not pass that. This one over here, this one, oh my gosh, this made me laugh so much. Okay, anyways, I should also say too, he doesn't always have like an angle, like things kind of slant. This is so weird, this angle that this is at. He doesn't always write like straight across. He doesn't always go up this way. And sometimes he goes down this way, but if he's going down this way, things should still be like angled slightly to the right, even coming at this direction. That makes some weird. People might be confused by what I'm trying to say, but yeah, it would be weird if you were signing at this direction, especially on a photo like this. There were so many areas that he could have signed and black would have turned out well. For him to be signed at that direction, the photo would have had to have been turned and things still should have been going this way, not this way. So we got the J. we have the A, but it doesn't come over and back. It comes up and it loops. The A comes up and loops, not over and back. That's a loop. And it comes out, and then you got like a whatever's happened there, and like a just loop, and then a dot. And then whatever this is, I'm not sure what order this went. It looks like this probably goes under. Don't know what the hell is going on there. But then the marker comes down. And again, there's no speed points too. If we're looking at this, like maybe right there, but that's just, I don't know. It's not really looking like speed ticks. A speed tick isn't like a big line. Usually it's usually just like a little dot at the end of the ink line. Anyways, so it comes up here, and yeah, it'd be a point and a round, but that's so sloppy. And then we have the one I and this, and it comes up and then kind of trails off, and that, and just, if you look at all his examples, I don't know of him ever doing a sit-down signing. Almost everything is going to be coming from like red carpets or events, standing, signing things for a crowd. There could be sloppy ones, but there is just too many red flags on this. Why the hell would anybody ever put their name to that and say that this looks good and they're passing it? Here's another one here, also Beckett, and it's the same thing. The A is coming, but it doesn't go over and back. It's that same loop. And this is rounded. So now we don't have the point, it's rounded. And if this was like the only thing in that, I would go, yeah, not on its own, that wouldn't be a huge thing. But we already have the A, that's like right, just screaming in our face that is not right. So we have everything's rounded. This, we've noticed is usually like a softer print. It's very pointy peak. The dot is right above it, which I know just sounds so weird to say. Like that's almost a red flag right there in itself, because it's always so much back here. We get the loop and the peak and the kind of spot, but I don't know. These loops just seem so like almost more loopy than they should be, and then it just comes and goes out, and this is just such a flat go out. And this is one of the things that we kind of say about trailing off. Like it just, overall, this isn't right, and there's a huge thing there. I never would have passed that. Oops. And here's another one with a JSA letter. I think this one's on eBay right now. It's like $1,500 or something ridiculous. And obviously just fake as all hell. So it's coming a little more rounded, not too bad. This is kind of spacing away on its own. Again, these aren't red flags. The A comes over and goes back, but then it loops where it really shouldn't be, because like I said, that one point where it was just coming back on itself and then it would be moving over, wouldn't be a huge thing, but he's already made that direction with his hand. So he's not really going to be making that direction again. And even if you said he did, it could happen. Why did it just happen a second time? Like it's so loopy, it's so drawn out. Like it just seems like it's wide this way for the overall feel of the signature. Like that is just not looking right. The N looks good. That looks good. And then we have a little kind of hook on the C. Not a huge thing. This part doesn't look too bad, but then why is there a round I? When have we ever seen him draw a circle for the I? It just, no, there's no way. Like this is another one that there's no way I would have passed this. So I'm not saying that every single item authenticated by Beckett or PSA or JSA is a fake, but I'm trying to show that just because they are supposedly the experts, that doesn't mean that they have the almighty authority over everything, and it doesn't mean that they're always right. Beckett is known, Steve Grad is known to pass things just because he wants his name on it. It goes the other way too. He's also known to fail things just because someone else's name is already on it. I don't know about Beckett, but I'm sure GSA, I know PSA have memberships. They don't open up very often, but people who've been around for years, they get memberships. When they've submitted enough things that have passed, they'll just start getting things authenticated just for sending them in. They don't really get looked at. So yeah, these are the kind of things that piss me off, and this is why a lot of collectors, like hardcore collectors, have started training themselves to be able to do authentications themselves. But then, like I said, there are people on a lot of groups that don't know what they're talking about and will spew terms that they've heard somewhere else, and just they don't know what they're talking about, and they will scare people. And but also, if they could maybe spot a couple of things, some autographs are quite easy to authenticate. But if you are looking at things like those Beckett ones, for example, to go by, or if you're like looking and seeing, oh well, the N is always pointy, or the A has that loop in it, instead of going over and back, it goes up in loops. Those are things that they would put together with an authentic autograph and say it doesn't look the same, it doesn't look right, when that's what they're basing it off of, just because they're like, this has to be real, it's authenticated by Beckett, it's authenticated by JSA. They would have the wrong image in their mind of what it should look like. So anyways, this definitely went longer than I wanted it to. Hopefully this information helps somebody. But yeah, the item, what little imperfections there might be, weren't enough or weren't big enough for me to have concerns about it. So yeah, it's passed. I definitely believe it to be authentic. So yeah, thank you for watching. Have a good day.